the assassination of Ismail Haniyeh is especially a big blow because he was actually one of the negotiators from Hamas's side. How can there be a negotiation when one side kills the negotiator of the other side? It essentially sort of kills the ceasefire talks as of now. This is a defining moment after almost 10 months of war in Gaza. This has the potential to lead to a broader conflict in the region.
Hello, viewers, readers, and listeners of the Indian Express. I am Flora Swai, and in terms of global news, a couple of major happenings have happened in the last 2 days, where two of Hamas's leaders, Ismail Haniyeh and Mohammed Deif, have been killed. And to discuss the implications of this in the greater aspect of the Middle East, we are joined by the diplomatic editor of the Indian Express, Shubhajit Roy. Hi, Shubhajit. So Hamas's two leaders are gone. One is Ismail Haniyeh yesterday, and today Israel military confirmed that on the 13th of July, Mohammed Deif, another important Hamas leader, was killed by them in a strike at Khan Yunis in Gaza. Can you tell us a little bit about how these two have been crucial in the entire narrative of Hamas and their assault on Israel?
Yeah, thank you, Flora, for that question. So, in the last 24 to 36 hours, we have seen really defining moments in the Israel-Hamas war that's been going on in Gaza since October last year. And what we saw first was news of Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh's assassination in Iran. And then that was on Wednesday morning. And on Thursday, Israel announced another Hamas leader, this time the military commander, Mohammed Deif, who is said to be, one of the architects of the masterminds of the October 7th terror attacks on Israel. So his assassination was also confirmed by actually took place on 13th of July. And these two developments obviously sort of are defining moments in the ongoing Israel-Hamas war since the 7th of October, especially because the war has been ongoing. As we know, Hamas, conducted about the attack on October 7th morning through the day, and in which about 1,200 Israeli civilians and military personnel were killed, and about 250 of them were of Israelis were. So there were about when Hamas attacked on Israel, the casualty count was about 1,200 Israeli civilians and military personnel, and they also took hostage of about 250 Israelis, some of them also foreign nationals. So after that, Israel obviously responded in militarily, which was earlier it was airstrikes, and then was followed up by ground invasion. And so far, according to the latest figures, there are about 35 to 40,000 casualties, which includes Hamas combatants as well as innocent civilians, women, children, also UN staff. So it's been a bloody battle, almost 10 months of war with no end in sight, while a hostage deal and ceasefire talks were ongoing. In that context, the assassination of Ismail Haniyeh is especially a big blow because he was actually one of the negotiators from Hamas's side who was negotiating with Israel, Israeli officials, Israeli intelligence officials, Mossad chief, and which was being brokered by Qatar and Egypt and US, to name a few countries. So this particular, assassination of Ismail Haniyeh, who was the political face of Hamas, based out of Qatar, is extremely important and extremely significant because it essentially sort of kills the ceasefire talks as of now. And after this, the announcement of the killing of Mohammed Deif by Israel, which it says that was killed in on 30th of July, adds another layer of complexity in the current situation. So that's where it stands as of now.
Right. Do you think that this is an advantage for Israel, but at the same time, it could throw a spanner into the ceasefire talks?
Yes, of course. As I said, Ismail Haniyeh was one of the negotiators from the Hamas side, and as Qatar Prime Minister said today, that how can there be a negotiation when one side kills the negotiator of the other side? So, in this kind of situation, I think it complicates the talks to free the Israeli hostages from Hamas's captivity, as well as the ceasefire talks. So this definitely derails the efforts and brings a high level of tension between the two sides at the fore. And so we'll have to see from how this goes. Obviously, from Israel's point of view, this is the most high-profile blow to Hamas since the 7th of October attacks, and they will view it as a major victory, as a major achievement, as taking out two of the top Hamas leaders, one a political face and the other one a military leader. Now the only person at the top brass who's left and who's pretty known is Yahya Sinwar, who is said to be based out of Gaza. So that's where we really have to see how this particular assassinations play out in the next few days.
Absolutely. But in the midst of all this, because Middle East has so many players, and one major player is Iran. And incidentally, it was during the oath taking, or let's say the inauguration of Iran's new president, was the event where Haniyeh had gone to attend, and this assassination happened on Iranian soil. How provoked do you think Iran is? Because Iran's Supreme Leader Khamenei said that Haniyeh's blood will not be wasted. So I think Iran is on another foot on another foot of aggression. So how provoked do you think Iran is currently, and what ramifications will be there on that front?
Well, obviously the venue of Haniyeh's assassination is a very important element. The fact that the targeted assassination took place in Tehran, will be seen as a major escalatory move by Iran. Haniyeh had gone there to attend the inauguration of the newly elected Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian, and he had also met, the top brass of Iran, including Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. And Haniyeh, in fact, that particular event was also attended by Indian cabinet minister, minister Nitin Gadkari, who was also in Tehran for the same event. And there is, in fact, a group photograph where both of them are there in the same sort of frame where with the newly elected Iranian president. Now, the Iranian president is a reformist who was elected in early July, and ran a campaign on the basis of talks with the West for economic reasons, because Iran, as you know, has and he had economic engagement. So now this puts him in a very, very tight spot, because he will now have to negotiate with the Iranian sort of establishment, with the more hardliner elements in the establishment, the hawks in the establishment, the Iranian Revolutionary Guards, who are the military of that establishment of Iran, and of course the supreme leader Khamenei, because they would all want to take revenge, and that is what it puts the newly elected president on his first day in job, a very, very difficult situation. It will be really his a test of his skills as a politician, how he negotiates out of this situation, how to respond to the crisis. So I think for from Iran's perspective, this will be seen as a major sort of provocation.
Right. And amidst all this, there is the United States of America. Fingers are being raised, pointed at the US that, allegations were made that US somehow facilitated this along with Israel. Because obviously, US is Israel's biggest ally, their major arms supplier. But at the same time, US is vehemently denied that they don't have anything to do, especially with Haniyeh's assassination. So, how do you think, especially with the US elections, uh, 3 months, 4 months down the line, how do you think this is playing for the White House and whoever becomes the next president? How do you think they are going to handle the Middle East tensions?
Well, so far the facts don't indicate that US had helped Israel in this particular strike, in these assassinations. Well, this particular strike or these set of assassinations definitely give a lifeline to Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Now, the it's obviously a victory for him, for his establishment, for his government. But he personally has been facing questions on his leadership ever since the 7th of October attacks took place, and his political survival has been at stake, with pressure on him to finally strike the hostage deal with Hamas. But because this assassination now has the potential to sort of, upend all such efforts for the time being. And this will obviously Netanyahu can stay the Democratic field by being anointed as the Democratic presidential candidate formally and picking the vice presidential nominee in the next few weeks. And so at this point of time, she had so far signaled to the world, to Netanyahu, and to her supporters when Netanyahu came to the US recently to meet the US President Joe Biden. Also, he met her as well as addressed the US Congress. And she has signaled that she'll be tougher on Netanyahu regarding the Israeli response and the war in Gaza, as she's very much focused on the younger Democratic voters, with the US's response and backing of Israel on the war in Gaza. Now, this particular situation, if there is escalation, then this adds a layer of complication, because Kamala Harris has been perceived as more vocal on the war in Gaza as compared to President Joe Biden. Now, she will have to rethink and think really hard about how to respond in case there is escalation in the region. So in the next, say, about 100 days are left for the US presidential elections, and we'll see a lot of activity in that from diplomatic front, where all the sides will try to cool down the temperature so that there is no escalation in the region.
Shubhajit, how much of this is going to affect India, and how is New Delhi viewing the current crisis in the Middle East?
Well, India is still sort of watching the developments as this wider the region of West Asia is right now almost is a tinderbox. Because if there is an escalation by Iran and Hamas, it will impact the entire region. A lot of regional players have already condemned the assassination. Now, because this is a defining moment after almost 10 months of war in Gaza, this has the potential to lead to a broader conflict in the region. And if that happens, it actually really brings to mind the peace and stability in the region, because that is India's immediate concern. Because there are about 9 million Indians who live and work in the region, and that region also supplies almost two-thirds of crude to India. So, in this kind of a situation, India will be very careful in how it responds, how it frames its response, especially since it involves a targeted assassination on foreign soil. And so, from Indian perspective, it will be a very, very important sort of situation to watch, where it would want that there is no escalation and calm and peace prevails in the region.
Absolutely. Shubhajit, thank you for joining us this evening for this deep dive analysis on the Middle East crisis. We shall keep an eye out, obviously, on what happens in the ramifications of the death of two of Hamas's top leaders and how the ceasefire talks pan out. How does a US navigate through all of this, and what New Delhi views in the Middle East? For all of Shubhajit Roy's deep analytical pieces, you can visit our website, indianexpress.com, and of course, our newspaper, the Indian Express. And for more details on the global news, you can visit the official YouTube channel of the Indian Express.